Here. Corey Yoakum? Here. And Mr. Coons will not be with us tonight.
Okay, and first of all, I need to get an approval for the minutes from the meeting held on September 18th.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, and on to financial report.
These two while we're doing it, right?
Okay, gotcha. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we
Okay, the financial report, our regular general fund, current fund balance at the month end of September was $2,815,996.98. Encumbered against that, $2,235,853.10, leaving an unencumbered balance of $580,143.88. There's no encumbrances on the bond retirement fund. I did receive one of the 5 bills that will be payable December 1st. But that fund does have $1,563,091.67, and I'm anticipating in the neighborhood of $1 million payout for that fund. Going back to the grants, early November, I'll be addressing the Title I. We have a negative $21,305 balance. Again, you have to spend the money first and then request it. So I let that build up for a month or two at a time. And that's on the 18 grant. On the 516 grant, which is the IDEA, we're at $55,699. So what will happen is if I make those in early November, they should hit November. At the December meeting, we should be just slightly negative again, because again, you have to, everything they send you has to be liquidated within 5 days. It's not like it used to be where you can request 10% more and use it for a while. You always have to pretty much run it in the red. Our total fund balance, $4,707,975.11, and that is, of that we have $229,157.26 in Star, Ohio. Our Farmers Suite, $4,003,574.10. Petty cash, $680, and when you do all that math, it comes out to $472,737.75. That proofs out as follows. Our regular farmers account, $849,930.11. Outstanding general fund checks, $375,366.46. We had a 10-cent payroll correction, and that math does proof out at $474,563.75. You also received appropriation report, a check pay report, and a revenue report, and if there are any questions, I can try to address those here, and if not, that wraps up the financial report.
Can I get a motion to approve the financial report?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then the petty cash.
I'm not allowed to open or close any new funds, including petty cash funds, without board approval. And Mr. Pagnotta has requested that he have petty cash for the maintenance department. We tried closing that and just using ours, but first of all, ours at the board office is very small, and they used to have $250 years ago. We only have 60. It happens a lot when they have to, run out and get something for a project they're in the middle of, and I'm not there to sign PO, whatever. So I'd like the board's permission to open $100. Advice of Mr. Pagnotta, we thought we'd start out with that and see how that works, and add that to the petty cash amount that I just reported $680 next month. That would go up to right.
So can I get a motion to approve the treasurer to create the $100 petty cash account?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And on to new business.
Good evening, everyone. A few people filling in for one another tonight. I'll ask Mr. Matus to provide good news for the elementary and
middle school. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. We'll start with the elementary. First, we had first grade fire safety day on Friday, October 6th. Beaver Township firefighters were with us and presented a video about fire safety to our first graders. They explained their protective gear that they wear in a fire, and they allowed a child to try the gear up on the stage. Some of the first grade students then went outside to take a look at the fire trucks and the ambulances, and they were educated about the equipment that they use in emergencies, and they had an opportunity to go inside of each vehicle. The first graders then listened to the firefighters as they explained how to be safe in your home, and this is something we do every year as a wrap-up activity in first grade on fire safety. On Monday, October 9th, we had children's author Julia Cook with us. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Julia Cook, if you know who she is, but she's written a lot of children's books on different social issues that kids deal with in elementary up through their teen years. So she came, she did 2 assemblies for our elementary students, and then she met with our staff at the end of the day for about an hour to continue talking about some of these same topics. So a big thank you to Cindy Maynard, who set all that up. October 11th through the 13th, our 4th graders went to Camp Fitch. We had 91 4th grade students go with 8 of our staff members and 12 high school students. The weather was pretty bad on Wednesday. They got soaked all day, but a nice day on Thursday and Friday, and they really learned a lot about team building, working together, and outdoor education. So a big thank you to the board and Mr. Dunham for once again allowing our students to go on that trip. The Ohio State English Language Arts Test for our 3rd graders is coming up on October 23rd and 24th. Again, the cut score for the 3rd grade guarantee is still a 44, but this year they've included, if the students earn a 672 as their overall score, that also counts as a way to meet the 3rd grade guarantee. So it's some good news for our students. It's just another way to try to meet that guarantee and be able to move on to 4th grade. Tomorrow, October 17th, is the Eastern Ohio Education Partnership Awards Lunch. And this is the Excellence in Education Luncheon, and they're giving out a lot of different awards this year, and our elementary has earned the Attendance Award for averaging 95% or better attendance as our average for this past school year. So just a big congratulations to our boys and girls on that. The week of October 23rd through the 27th is Red Ribbon Week, and we'll kick off on the 19th with Mrs. Maynard and Officer Hartman, along with the Beaver Township Police and the K-9 unit will be here, and they'll put on an assembly for our boys and girls. We'll have coloring contests and a homeroom banner competition that Mrs. Maynard has set up, and at the end of the week we will have our Harvest Day parties put on by our PTO. And then just a couple upcoming events. On Friday, November 3rd, we have report cards going out. And on Saturday, November 4th, it's the PTO's 36th annual auction. So that will begin at, the doors open at 4:30 and auction begins at 6. For the middle school, on October 6th, 18 8th grade students participated in the Cutting Edge Manufacturing event at the MCCTC. They started their day with a motivational speaker who encouraged students to maximize their potential. From there, they broke into groups for a hands-on lab experience with local business leaders. They learned about the various careers related to the manufacturing industry. The students were also encouraged to develop soft skills while they are in school. Skills like making eye contact, having good attendance, and being drug-free were stressed. And then also in the middle school, the 7th grade volleyball team finished their season with a win over Springfield and a 14-1 record. Team members included Jamie Farron, Kelly Zolik, Taylor McClish, Bree Heiner, Gianna Pasquale, Maria Primavera, Samantha Suzanni, Hannah Ball, and Emma Cunningham. The 8th grade volleyball team also closed out their season with a victory over Springfield to finish with a 12-4 record. Team members were Kylie McConnell, Reagan Irons, Logan Less, Hannah Hakinen, Mallory Vidman, Alexis Angus, Taylor Smesko, Julia Gregory, Jamie Slavin, and McKenna McGrath. And then the middle school will also be celebrating Red Ribbon Week during the week of October 23rd. Students will be encouraged to lead a drug-free lifestyle through various activities and the promotion of healthy behavioral choices. That's it for the elementary.
Thank you. You made it without saying red web.
That's right. 2 R's, Red Ribbon.
Mrs. Lewis is standing in for
Sure.
Mr. Rowan.
Okay, so at the high school on October 11th, High School Student Council, in conjunction with the American Red Cross, had a blood drive involving both the student body and the community members, and pretty much lasted the full day. They collected over 40 pints of blood, and so Mr. Rowan just wanted to thank all who helped with the blood drive. Several high school students, as Mr. Matus already talked about, were the counselors at Camp Fitch with our 4th graders, and those counselors were Maria Campion, Olivia Fiseska, Amariah Fitch, Lexi Borton, Caroline Foudy, Megan Casilica, Darian Smith, Albert Ding, James Din, Bryson James, Ryan Turnbull, and Luke Schaefer. Last weekend, homecoming was just celebrated by pretty much everybody in the community, I think. It started with a parade around the complex with both Beaver and Green Township Fire and Police participating. They had class floats, the Raider Marching Band, and the Homecoming Court. The game, I'm pretty sure everybody knows this too, they came away with their 8th straight victory, and Ian Pearson and Angel Fickus crowned as the 2017 Homecoming King and Queen. And the last thing from the high school is the high school cheerleaders showed their girl power. I can't believe Mr. Rowan wrote that, but he did. On October 6th, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the squad sold 300 pink t-shirts and held a cheer clinic for 70 elementary girls in grades kindergarten through 4th. The Little Raider cheerleaders cheered the 2nd quarter of the South Range Sharon varsity football game. The girls raised over $1,500 for the fundraiser, and they're presenting a check to the Joni Abdu Comprehensive Breast Care Center. So congratulations to the girls.
Very nice weekend, the homecoming. Okay, Caitlin Food Service, Mrs. Pierce.
Hello. So last week in the cafeteria, Nutrition Group does a program called Lunch for Life, and it's for the kindergarten students for 3 days. Nutrition Group pays for those kindergarten students to eat lunch, just to kind of get them used to the lunch line, to show them it's not as scary or they're not intimidated. So to promote that also, we decorated the cafeteria with some balloons, and then we gave them a special treat with lunch for those 3 days. The participation actually did go up those 3 days for the free lunch, and then today's lunch as well. After I did the numbers, there was an increase in kindergarten students. So it's nice to know that it's working and it's doing what it's supposed to do. You also have a green pamphlet. That's kind of our mock, if it's approved, for Kristen, Scott, and I to do a cooking class with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. So it would be every Monday, the month of November, right after school, and then the first Monday in December. So what we would be doing with the students is just kind of going over some basic cooking skills, food safety, and then doing a little recipe with them as well. There is, I think, 25 spots in Kristen's class, so it would be in the home ec room. So if it's popular enough, we would do another one in the spring if anyone wasn't able to get into it this fall. So that's it from the cafeteria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Lewis, come
Sure.
back up, curriculum instruction.
Sure. So I'm going to just continue going over the next measure on our 2017 report card. And this one is on gap closing. So last month we talked a little bit about the performance index and the number of indicators earned, and it was basically in general for our whole population. So the gap closing actually looks at 10 different subgroups that are traditionally not performing at the same level as all students. Out of those subgroups, we only have 4 of them here. And when you look at the progress of all of those together, we earned an overall B for that component rate. What's included in that actual measure are 3 areas in those subgroups. That's language arts, how are kids doing on the language arts test, the math test, and how about graduation for our subgroup data also. When you look at the language arts, they're looking at a score of 77.1 for each one of those subgroup datas, and pretty much all of those were met. We made nice gains with our students with disabilities. That's traditionally the one at the state level that is the most challenging for some of our students. Seeing growth there, getting closer to that target. Math, the goal for the subgroups is 72%, and these do increase every year, so that's a little bit higher than what was expected last year. Very similar profile for those subgroups as well. And the graduation rate, looking at that for 2016, that increased to 82.8%, and we did meet both of those indicators as well. So overall, when you put all of that subgroup data together, that is an 85.6%, which is a B, which is really good. Especially compared to last year, we earned a 66.7%, which is a D, so we made huge gains in that gap closing, which significantly speaks to how kids are doing at grade level and really getting close to that graduation level where everybody is able to be at that post-graduation services, whether it's college, a trade, a different pathway, but looking at everybody having a successful post-high school experience. So that is, in a nutshell, our gap closing measure.
And I did forward slides from Ms. Lewis' presentation. Should have those. Mr. Dunn, Transportation.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This week is actually National School Bus Safety Week, so with that, starting tomorrow is our bus evacuation drills that we're doing with K through 12 students. This is just for students and staff to understand what is entailed and what can we do in a bus emergency. And we'll be doing that in the West Bus Loop tomorrow morning. I did apply for a grant from the EPA. It's sort of like a Cash for Clunkers program. If you remember back in 2008, there was a Cash for Clunkers program with our regular automobiles. Similar scenario with this program. I applied for 2 new school buses with that, $20,000 we would get for each of them, including $40,000 total we would get for the 2 buses if we did receive this grant from the EPA. We will not know until mid-January if we did receive this grant or not. And, also we did get the recycling bins in the bus garage. There was a lot of waste over the summer with steel and metal and plastics getting thrown away, so now we can recycle those items and help with the environment. So that's it.
Thank you. Pagnata, Technology or Facilities.
Good evening. Technology-wise, we're ready for the 3rd grade testing. As you know, we have been, or if you don't know, we've been testing on the Chromebooks with the Air Secure app. This application is set up ahead of time for us, and we look at the technical specifications and are ready for that on our Chromebook. Students don't have to sign on. They go onto the app. It's in a kiosk mode, and it's our job just to keep that app ready to go when they need it. On the maintenance side, we have some plans for this Friday, being that the teachers will be here Thursday night. We have Friday off. We're going to do some maintenance things in the facility. We have a logic board on order for our doors, our access control system, and we have a little bit of maintenance to do on a geothermal. So weather's been great so far. We all know it's going to change, so we want to get these things taken care of as quick as we can. So that's all from technology maintenance.
Good timing to do it this Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Coons is not here.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay, Mrs. White.
Okay. And then if we can move on to the board policy.
A number of resolutions here, and as you know, I will cover them and we'll go back through and the board will vote. The board policy adoption last month, September 16th, I went over the first reading. We had 15 revised policy and 1 new policy. They're before you, and of course you received that packet last month for your consideration. So I can just keep going on.
Yeah.
The next one is the adoption of the 5-year financial forecast. Mr. Phillips.
You received in your packet a copy of the forecast and the updated assumptions, and as always, we're required to submit that to the Ohio Department of Education by October 30th. And there is a new software package that we actually get trained on Thursday to learn how to submit it. Hopefully it won't be too much of a change, because I'm old and don't do well with change. But hopefully the forecast that we have, I've got the contingency in there, just to give you some highlights, it's all in your assumptions. The contingency, 1.5% of expenditures. We've got the $173,000 a year that House Bill 49 caused us to lose in the guarantee of the aid. Since we're on the guarantee, we haven't really had a change in state support for many years. So I just took last year's and took the 173 off it for right now. Because we have an early meeting here, the way the calendar fell, this is only the 16th. After the October count week, we still don't have all the effects, and won't for a while, all the effects of how that's going to affect us funding-wise. Although being on the guarantee, it shouldn't affect us at all. So we're never going to get off anytime in the future, anytime soon. We're not going to get off that guarantee as long as there is a guarantee. The only thing that seems to be changing it is when they take some off us. So that's obviously a little bit hurtful to us. Still showing positive balances through fiscal year 19, fiscal year 20, not so much right now. But again, every time we do an update or a forecast, I say in the opening paragraph that appears online, by the way, and certainly in the opening of the assumptions, that this forecast assumes that we maintain the programs that we have. It's a snapshot as of today, everything I know. It shows that we have a deficit balance at the end of 2020, 21, 22. We have to do something to make that not happen. We have to make the cuts. We have to hopefully get more open enrollment kit, whatever it takes. We have to, I often get told, you don't know what you're doing. You said 5 years ago we were going to have a $5 million deficit. Well, no, we're not going to have. That's a snapshot today. If we don't cut any programs and we don't get any revenue through open enrollment, levies, whatever. So as we progress, this is just me telling the board, the warning signs are up. Line 6.010, we're spending more than we're bringing in, and we're going to have to take action. Mr. Dunham and I have been discussing for, well, over a year now. We know this is coming, and it's the cycle of school funding in Ohio. So it's not something that shocks us. It's new. It's in the last forecast. Of course, the $173,000 state foundation cut makes it a little bit worse than it was. So that's the best information we have as of right now. And if it changes more than 5% or so with ensuing information, I can come to you anytime and update it again. I am required between April 1st and May 30th to do an update, whether we need it or not, as always. If there's any questions on any of the assumptions or anything that were sent to you, I can try to entertain those now. And if not, it is what it is.
Okay. And then, Mr. Dunham, the band and choir trip?
We're asking you to approve the high school band and high school choir trip to New York City. This would be New York City, New York on April 19th of 2018, this spring through 21st of 2018. Be for our senior band and choir members. They would attend the 9/11 Museum site and attend Phantom of the Opera. The trip would be fully chaperoned and transportation provided by a licensed motor coach company. Of course, the students would fundraise and pay for their way to New York City. This would be obviously accompanied by Mr. DeCesar and chaperones from the music department.
Right, and the Family and Consumer Science Camp.
As Mrs. Pierce talked, the pamphlet before you, Kristen Scott, our Family Consumer Science teacher, and Mrs. Pierce We'd like to hold an enrichment camp for interested elementary students. This will be in the Family Consumer Science classroom. The camp will have after-school sessions starting November 6th through December 4th. It will be funded through the support of the high school PTO, and fees will be charged to students for consumable items for the food that they would eat. The camp will utilize the high school family consumer science teacher and the food service director for pupil supervision. Nice opportunity for the kids, and very nice, Mrs. Pearson, Mrs. Scott, to want to do so.
Yes, it is. Okay, and on to the ownership, accepting the ownership of the stadium improvements from the athletic.
You may recall last year in November, we, the board, recommend the board accept the turf playing field from the athletic boosters for that improvement. As you know, last year, the board entered into a lease purchase agreement with the South Range Athletic Boosters with the encouragement from the board to move forward with the privately donated funds to make improvements at the Rominger Sports Complex or Raiders Stadium. So at this point, the boosters wish to convey and assign to the board all the boosters' rights, title, and interest in the completed projects to date. That include the following: the video digital scoreboard, the field lighting system, the visitor side bleachers, the home side bleachers, sound system, and press box. The uncompleted phases of the project remain with the athletic boosters lease purchase agreement. Would resolve that pursuant to the South Range Local School District bylaws and policies and the authority of Ohio Revised Code, the board hereby accepts and assumes with appreciation and gratitude the ownership of the completed stadium improvements donated by the boosters. And that are the only resolutions that I have at this point. If we were to go back through and consider the vote, we can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Were there any questions or comments about the October agenda items at this time?
I've got a question about the 5-year financial forecast. You said that we're okay fiscal 19, but in fiscal 20, not so okay.
Right.
What, I mean, how not so okay in fiscal 20? I mean, we're close or are we way off?
Way off of what?
Well, as far as
We have a deficit in 20. I can give you a copy of the report at the end of the meeting.
I mean, is it a lot of money or is it? I mean,
Sure.
So we're going to need a levy?
Well, we're going to need to cut programs, more open enrollment, a levy, some combination thereof.
You say more open enrollment, but in May, you and I went back and forth and you said we lose $3,000 on every open enrollment kid. That's on tape. You can go back and check it. You actually said that.
Well, I misspoke if I said that.
Well, you said
I don't think that's exactly what I meant.
No, it costs $9,000 to educate a kid here.
We will have a discussion in my office tomorrow, the next day, whenever you like.
So you don't want to admit we lose $3,000 on an open enrollment
We
kid?
do not lose $3,000 on open enrollment.
It costs $9 to educate a kid.
Correct.
We get 6 for open enrollment kids.
Correct.
We're losing $3,000.
No, that's only the state funding. You're forgetting the local and the federal funding, Rich. We're not losing.
So if it costs 9 and we get 6, how are we not losing money, Jimmy?
That's just on the state section. That's what I can explain it to you on paper in my office because you're not getting it this way. I can tell you for your kids, I'm getting $2,200 this year.
From the state?
Yes.
Yeah, you get $2,200 from the state, and then the local taxpayers make up the difference to get to the $9,000.
Right.
So we get $6,000 from the district the open enrollment kid comes into. Do we then get another $2,200 from the state for that, or is that it?
Each kid brings some amount of money. Open enrollment kids bring $6,000. Resident kids this year bring $2,200.
And the district makes up the rest for resident kids. But we don't make it up. We don't get any more than the 6.
I think we've hit the 2 minutes. You're welcome in my office anytime. Any of you are welcome. My door's always open. I'd love to explain it. I'm not going to debate you here.
All right, but in the meantime,
I'm done, Rich.
Our native
I'm done,
enrollment
Rich.
has gone down. We're at about 70% native enrollment now, correct? Or I mean, the number of kids that we have, if you look at total enrollment, about 1 out of every 5 kids, I'm sorry, about 80%, about 1 out of every 5 kids is open enrollment, correct?
I would not want to say yes or no.
Ballpark,
but
just ballpark, Dennis. About 1 out of every 5, about 20% of the kids are open
roughly
enrollment.
300 open enrollment students.
But we've never examined what it would have been like, especially through attrition with all the retirements we've had. We've never tried to shrink the district down and right size the district by not replacing people as they retire.
If I may, I think one of the things that we all have to remember, we're all in this together. Every single one of us are in this together. Right size, downsize, I hear right size come from you often. I think there's a lot of question marks when you say you've never had that conversation or consideration to right-size the district. And we've talked about this on numerous occasions, what's going to be best for this district in the long run, not just 2017 or 2018, but what will it look like if we continue with the trends that we have coming into kindergarten, first grade, second grade, because we know all districts have declining enrollment.
Correct.
We're one of them. And what is going to be the best thing that we can do? Because, look, many of the people at this table, their children are long gone. They're here for the right reasons. And I believe you're all here for the right reasons. So collectively, what do we do to address this issue, whether it's declining enrollment, bringing open enrollment in to try to stem the tide and stave off going to a levy, stave off bringing more open enrollment in, stave off cutting. There's a lot of questions that when we kind of get our hair standing on the back of our neck because we don't have the interest to it. No one does. And you see it, not just at South Range, you see it at the other local districts that are going through the same thing.
Well, I bring it up because the guy that's running for Poland, basically, that's one of his campaign promises, is they need to right-size their district. They're looking at closing buildings, they're looking at downsizing, because Poland's lost, they're probably about half the size they were 10 years ago.
I don't know what their size is, and all I can do is talk to you about what we have here. But right-sizing the district, we do not have more staff now than what we had, well, 11 years ago when I started as
We have
superintendent.
the same staff, but we have 20% fewer kids.
Resident students.
Resident student kids, but we've never looked at, all right, like Austintown, they brought the auditor in. I was a member of the committee that wanted you guys to do a performance audit, which would cost you nothing unless they found savings. The board 2 years ago refused to do that. Will you guys consider a performance audit of the district? Have the state auditor's office come in and say, yeah, you guys are doing a great job, I see nothing. Or these are the things that need to be corrected. Because Austintown did that in Colaluca, that's why you've got such, they've got an open enrollment problem in Austintown, because he flat out said they have too many open enrollment kids. It's my opinion, we have too many open enrollment kids, when we're losing $3 grand on every kid that comes into the open enrollment.
Okay, thank you, Rich. You've gone well over the 2 minutes. Thank you for your
You're
comments.
welcome.
We're going to go ahead and do our vote on our resolutions at this time. So if we could look at the board policy adoption, could I have a motion to approve the new and updated policies?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and can I get a motion to adopt the 5-year financial forecast?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and for the approval of the band and choir trip to New York City for the seniors on April 19th through April 21st, can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And to add the Family Count Consumer Science Camp in November and December for 3rd through 5th graders in the high school home ec room. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And to accept the ownership of the Athletic Boosters stadium improvements, including the stadium, visitor and home stadium, or,
Wednesday.
thank you. And can I get a?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second? Lost my place.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and moving on to the September, October, November district updates.
Number of things, just probably more commentary or just reciting a few things here. Hard to believe we're 10 or 11 days from the end of the first 9-week grading period, so things are moving quickly. We're transitioning from the start of the school into fully integrating, implementing all of our programs. And you heard Mrs. Lewis talk briefly, and I really do feel that things are moving in the right direction. And I mention it each month, and no different this month, thanks to all of our staff, our students, folks in here that are working very hard every day for our kids. The commentary part is, Houston, Texas, California with the wildfires, Florida with hurricanes, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands. There's tragedy everywhere. Unfortunately, the shootings in Vegas. We're not exempt, but boy, the bubble that we're in here, we lose track of how fortunate we really are with what's going on outside of of South Range schools and maybe Mahoning County or northeastern Ohio, but we're fortunate to live and be part of a school district that 99.99% of the time we have people that really do care about kids, and our kids make us pretty proud of what they do each and every day. So stopping and taking stock in what we do and what we see every day is something that we should be proud of. Our building principals and some of our folks talked about the homecoming parade last weekend. If you were there, and I've said this for years, Friday night football in small town, northeastern Ohio, or basketball, or whatever it might be, any events that we have, the band moving into the band shell on Friday night. Those are the types of things that bring this district together, and the things that we can agree upon, because we have that common denominator of all of our kids, and we agree that that's what we're here for. Our staff has been real active. We started a robotics club. We have the Project Inspire with STEM. Our kids are getting out of the four walls, or traveling, and they have some opportunities that other districts and other kids sometimes don't always have. If you were here Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock and you witnessed 1,300 kids sitting on the sidewalk watching, in my mind, the 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9-year-olds watching their heroes, and as are our kids and your kids, riding on floats around the inner loop of the school, you'd say, wow, this is a pretty cool place. So, we have problems, just as we talked about. We have problems, but by and large, we have a lot of good things happening here too. And I just refuse to let any of us forget about the good, because it always trumps the bad that sometimes go on in districts. So we have a great atmosphere. We have kids coming together. We have a K-12 that's coming together. On a different note, I've had inquiries. Mr. John Vineski. Mr. John Vineski, our middle school band director, assistant marching band director. John has been on medical leave for a few weeks now. As you're aware, Mr. Vineski has been battling MS for 20 solid years, 20 years. And he continues to fight it. I have talked to him, I've emailed him. His MS has been on and off in terms of remission. Certainly probably the toughest bout he's had with it that I can recollect. So, he's not here, but tonight he's not forgotten. Keep Mr. Vineski, I guess, please keep Mr. Vineski in your thoughts and prayers. And he's going through rehab and therapy. A good lead-in for me, there's a gentleman sitting here, Mr. Frank Dispenza, that has come to our rescue, and he has subbed and come in as a long-term sub for Mr. Vineski at the middle school. And for some time, with Mr. DeCesar's father passing, we did not have other than Mr. Dispenza and Mrs. Elder on the field trying to conduct and get a marching band together for a homecoming period, which is a big, tall order. So I just want to recognize Frank. Frank is here with us at least through January 19th, I want to say, of 18 as a long-term sub, and we certainly appreciate all you're doing for the music department and for our kids.
And what an amazing show on Friday night.
Yeah.
Good, so impressive.
Good stuff. Before you know it, fall is going to be winter, and we're starting, but let's embrace what we have now. Congrats to our athletic teams, and this is probably the quietest 8-0 team that in the county or in the northeastern Ohio. Good stuff there. Our cheerleaders, our coaches, a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifices, a lot of time. Lastly, for me, just want to recognize Miss Jennifer Lucido. As you know, Lindsay Samblonay, back at the end of August, we accepted her resignation as the EMIS director and part-time superintendent secretary. We've been through the interviews, and pleased to introduce Jen as the EMIS director and part-time superintendent secretary. Jen's been with us for 5-6 days now after today, and she's working real hard and is really battling to remember everyone's names and faces. But just hope you stand up for a moment, just introduce yourself and can get a name and face together.
Nice to meet everyone.
So Jen's coming from Lowellville, has three sons in the Lowellville school system, and has better than 5 years' experience in the EMIS field, which is critical in what we do in terms of reporting, not just for academics, but finance and the whole ball of wax, so to speak. So welcome, Jen, and thrilled to have you. I think that's my board update for the month of October. Thank you.
All right, and there were no requests received for the month of October for public participation, so at this time, we're going to go to an executive session according to the Ohio Revised Code 121 and 22 for the purpose of confidential discussion of employment of a public employee or official, to discuss the compensation of an employee, and to consider the sale of property at competitive bidding. Can I get a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
And a second? Roll call for this? Mr. Phillips?
Yes. Catch up here. Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Wentz? Yes. Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mr. Yocum?
Yes.
Okay, the board enters executive session at 7:41.